Well, I'm glad to be here with my colleagues. They've made great points. I will tell you that the only thing I want to hear from this administration is that they're going to empower our great military over in Afghanistan to go city, town, every single door to door and get our Americans out. What are they thinking? Why don't they go there and do the right thing? Unleash our fighting men and women. Tell the Taliban that you don't get to set deadlines for us. We'll leave when we're ready to leave and not a day sooner. And oh, by the way, you harm one single hair on one single head of one of our soldiers or our friends, and you want us to talk about shock and awe, you'll be sorry you existed. That's what the Taliban needs to hear. It's ridiculous that this Democratic administration and this Congress is focused on this. The border. Why are we focused on the border? Let me tell you how bad it is. Mary talked about the masks. Pelosi has decreed, she's like the Gestapo, I call her a Gestapolosi. Okay? Gestapolosi has decreed that members must wear masks or get fined. That staff members can be arrested and jailed. She is the Gestapolosi. It's unbelievable that she's doing this kind of stuff. Scott Perry is exactly right. Their bailout bill, where there are a bunch of handouts and bailouts, and I would say even the liberal socialists, Scott, they're the only ones that make out on this deal. They have actually, Bob Good's right. What Alexander Tytler said in 1787 from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, when he talked about that democracy can exist, the Democrats have discovered that they can bribe Americans with their own money. With their own money. This bill is a travesty. No one's denying we need better bridges and roads, and Republicans are ready to work together on infrastructure if the majority had been willing to consider any of these priorities. In the Starter Act on our wastewater infrastructure bill is one example. Infrastructure should be bipartisan. Should be bipartisan, like it's been in the past under, Republican leadership. But that's not how Speaker Pelosi is operating. She's spending her last days a bit more conciliatory toward Republicans, don't you all think? This everything in a infrastructure bill is reckless abandonment, bribing people with their own money, I call it. It's not true infrastructure. You've heard the numbers, 110 billion with the B of the so-called 1 trillion plus bipartisan infrastructure package that the American people generally consider infrastructure? No, that's what it ought to go for. What they want, roads, bridges, and the like. The remaining $1 trillion are Green New Deal provisions. I'm here to tell you it's raw New Deal is what it is. One of my colleagues is right. Pelosi has capitulated to the far left group. We used to think she was tough. She's not. And she has capitulated to the far extreme left, and she's going to pay that price. For example, like an insane plan in the bill to replace air travel with trains. Well, that's just great. I want to see our Hawaii members come over here on trains. That's just great. She's brilliant. Another example, $66 billion to help fulfill AOC's vision for massive expansions of Amtrak and other rail, while explicitly eliminating taxpayer accountability from Amtrak's mission. You can't make this stuff up. I didn't know there was racism in highways. Did y'all know there's racism in highways? That's their battle cry, their rallying cry. Part of the $110 billion earmarked for rebuilding roads and bridges is dedicated to fixing, you can't make this stuff up, quote, racism physically built in some of the highways, end quote. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg described that. Racism in highways. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They want to give woke regulators oversight on broadband expansion. Well, isn't that great? We're all going to have woke up one day and really regret that if it passes. That's the oversight to decide whether and when broadband expansion occurs and mandates regulators not to use federal funds in a way that, quote, discriminates on the basis of gender identity. Highways, broadband. Can you say, you're talking about they're going to have people who can literally decide what you see on broadband. This whole bill simply pushes the left's social justice mission. The term equity is included 64 times. 64 times, and I'm here to tell you it's nothing but equitable. But But the real, it's nothing equitable, period. But the real problem is in the spending. Isn't that what it all boils down to? Follow the bouncing dollar. The package calls for $550 billion of new spending over 5 years. You've heard about it. But the bill won't even cover that amount in offsets for over 10 years. Mary was right. We're putting our children and grandchildren at the bottom. Worse and worse and worse. Friends, this everything is transportation new thing they've come up with. It's just like everything else the Democrats have been pushing through this year, a Trojan horse for the radical Pelosi-Biden agenda. People better wake up. Don't forget Speaker Pelosi promised, I won't put it on the floor until we have, quote, the rest of the initiative. She lied, apparently. No one should support this package because it opens the door to Democrats' even more irresponsible reconciliation package, which even in the middle is dead smack in the middle of an unresolved border crisis. The White House wants to give massive amnesty. You heard the figures earlier. Lord help us if we don't stop this bill from passing. I tell you what, I hope Americans are waking up. 2022 can't get here quick enough. We are going to barnstorm and take back this house. I'm going to yield now to my good friend, Mr. Clyde.